Harstem. I do agree with you. I think it's something that ShoWTimE has been working on. You know, ShoWTimE is still very much so a developing player. 5 years ago, he would never cheese, or I guess longer at this point, maybe. But then he started to add in more cheeses. Even there was I think there was like a month where he did nothing but, actually. And then, kind of knew him as a guy that wouldn't be able to end the game when he should. Even as recently as the War Chest Team League, I think he had criticized himself on that. And yet he continues to learn and adapt. So, definitely getting better at taking those advantages and actually, finalizing the game with it. But I think it is still going to be one of the biggest question marks for me, because I know Harstem has really appreciated diving into the late game of PvP before.
Yeah, Harstem really actually just loves late game, right? Harstem isn't the player who wants to end games early. He is the guy that wants to sort of let the macro play out, let things, do whatever they want to do, and then, if he gets to play late, then great. He's actually one of the less likely Protoss players, I would say, to kind of like season advantage, like on 2 or 3 bases. Like, I've seen him play 1 basey stuff, like he is doing now here in this PvP. But like, to actually hear, to see him if he gets to 2 bases, he's very likely to take the 3rd base and to go from there,
That's just kind of a surprise, right? Like Harstem adding on not a proxy Stargate, which kind of like usually goes into the macro game a little bit later, but actually a proxy 3rd gateway. Very much so going to try and end the game or get that really strong head start by canceling a Nexus right from the start. But as PvP goes, it is still likely that this, or maybe not likely, but possible it goes on afterwards. First and foremost, ShoWTimE's got to figure out what's going on. He's got to figure out that his opponent's actually using that proxy pylon. He's trying to scout around. He knows it's somewhere. He's got 2 probes revolving on the outer edges of Lightshade. And it looks like eventually this top right probe will see that gateway, and that is pretty important. It might seem a little bit late, but actually it's quite well timed. I mean, it's only halfway down a warp gate. The Stalker's only going to pop out. He won't be able to stop it from happening, but having that knowledge is critical.
The information is so good because ShoWTimE, he can respond to it, and he says, right, well, I can actually put a Nexus down still, but then he's going to stop the shield batteries, right? And if he gets the Nexus down and shield batteries and holds, the position he gets into is obviously fantastic, right? I mean, if you just defend this, you're in such a good spot. Harstem is going to put his own Nexus down. But I mean, even if Harstem backs away at any point, that's a pylon and a gateway that's just out on the map, 3 pickings. And even that is a big advantage from ShoWTimE. It's money invested that then doesn't really do anything.
Can't argue with that. I mean, it's better than trying to make this work, right? With the shield battery already being prepared, and then the clock that has been set with the Nexus being able to overcharge shield batteries now. You're probably just not going to be able to push through it. Maybe grab a cheeky sentry, maybe take a alarming fight. ShoWTimE has to take it seriously and continue warping in himself, right? But that's kind of what you're asking for. So literally right now, it's actually kind of nice. ShoWTimE suddenly gets a probe into the main base, which is going to get that confirmation that this is not dedicated. So I think if he had maybe done this a little bit sooner, maybe he doesn't have that second shield battery, right? Oh, or maybe he doesn't even warp in this 5th Stalker and 3rd Sentry. Because there's a point usually in PvP where you just want to kind of, if you can, you want to stop building units and go into that technology. Well, Harstem got a little bit more of the mind game, the mental game, right? He did get a faster Twilight Council because he did scare ShoWTimE. And now the question is, like, yeah, your point, the 3rd gateway out there is not doing very much, going to die. Was it actually worth getting ahead and blink? Getting your opponent to kind of, a little bit overreact? Well, that's okay. Colossus is a little. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, gives you some high ground vision, right? That works.
Yep.
Like I said, though, like losing this pylon, losing this gateway is a pretty big deal. It is money. So yeah, you get a faster blink, but there's still some money you're down overall, right? Harstem has invested more to still be behind on workers. And yeah, again, that blink's a bit faster, but again, what do you do with a faster blink for like 20 seconds? You've got like a very fine timing where you maybe get 1 or 2 blinks off, your opponent doesn't. And if that's into shield batteries on 2 bases, that doesn't really matter all that much, right? So yeah, maybe you can take a bit of map control, but otherwise, I'm not saying ShoWTimE's like super far, like he's winning this game, but to me, these little advantages still lie in ShoWTimE's favor.
I do agree with that. Like Harstem might be able to feel confident about moving out for 20 seconds, but then it really is only that long, and not even, because you can't know exactly how far ahead you are in blink. So you're going to be, very soon he's going to be like, oh, maybe I can't stay out on the map. Maybe I have to pull back. So, maybe better would have been actually grabbing a faster third Nexus or getting that Forge as fast as ShoWTimE would have been better as far as the investment of the future goes. Instead, it's this Blink that's, yeah, you're right, not going to really do a whole lot. ShoWTimE's even going to see that his Nexus is indeed faster, but for ShoWTimE, I think he would really want to be like, okay, is it actually going to be a Nexus? Is my opponent going for a big attack? Because right now, ShoWTimE's information is limited to just that Twilight Council scout, and then what looked like a setup for a third Nexus, but that's not always a guarantee, right? So I'm glad to see another hallucination coming in here, confirming that intent to macro with the Forge being chronoed. And then he's even going to see that, yeah, there is actually a third. And maybe now he could try and move around the map, maybe think he has a +1 advantage at some point. Or they could do what we kind of, we're a little bit talking about, which is just playing very evenly, very defensively, and then get to that macro stage. That 3-base, 4-base, even in a Stargate stage. Oh, War Prism's on the way, though. Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. I like it for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I like it for ShoWTimE too. Just third base, Prism, all the good stuff. Probably from Harstem, we'll see what going into those disruptors can do for him here. But otherwise, I mean, it is just, it's like 5 probes this entire time. Look at that income graph, and it's, massively in favor of ShoWTimE, while, again, he's the one that's actually killing stuff. He's only lost a probe in this game. That's it. Whereas there's been gateways cancelled and killed and all that kind of stuff. So there is a big, big advantage right now for ShoWTimE as he gets himself an extra kill there. And, well, here we go. ZG, he's going to put some pressure on.
Now, Harstem has... Oh, God, I thought that was a GG.
Yeah, me
Harstem.
too.
I was like, what?
Harstem's camera is amazing. Oh, that was crazy.
Cheeky boy.
I also thought it was a GG right away. I was like, Harstem's just like, he sees the hub, he's just gone. He's like, had enough. I was like, well, I didn't think it was that much of an advantage, but yeah, ShoWTimE having some lag. Harstem is gonna say that is just ShoWTimE, so we'll give ShoWTimE a few moments to hopefully sort that out and do what he needs to do to get back on track here, especially as you're about to come in and take the fight. It's definitely important that you can control everything as you need to.
Yeah, very micro-intensive battle coming up here. So what I was going to say is that Harstem has an Immortal and a Shield Battery, obviously an Overcharge as well. His army's in front of the Shield Battery, so it shouldn't be sniped. But ShoWTimE, he's looking for advantages, and if he takes a great fight, then fantastic, he wins the game. That would be the best case scenario. But I dare say that probably more times he's done this, it's been kind of just like a further lead, but not quite ending the game. So he is also looking towards the future, grabbing his +2 much faster potentially than Harstem, who is desperate to defend, and then also grabbing more gas. So Harstem is on his way to disruptors, worth noting, as we still have them conversing about ping issues. So if he does hold, he'll have that tech advantage, and then I guess we get to question whether ShoWTimE is the another believer of the, I'm going to call it the Hellraiser style. Even though we've seen it from other Protosses, it feels like Hellraiser's the one he's actually lining up for it, He wants to get there. It's not a desperation or a opportunity. But we're actually getting back in the game, so enough, I guess, hypothetical. We're about to have some action.
Yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE's lining up to fight, and so hallucination goes down now. An observer as well. He's losing some probes on the other side of the map, so a couple of adepts have got by, and they're starting to deal damage. And with the super battery here, I don't think ShoWTimE's going to break this down.
No, that was actually a pretty nice blink forward there from Harstem, not because he had the Stalker advantage, but because he wanted to protect that Immortal, right? And it wasn't actually going to be shot down. It's lived. It got its shields popped, and then it just continued living. And that shield battery was still in position to save a lot of the units. There was even a second shield battery that I'm not sure that ShoWTimE could even see, but yeah, he was not going to crack that defense. What he did was, despite losing 7 probes back at home to a couple of adepts, he still has that superior economy, or he's had it and still has an even economy. He's got a faster +2. He's got, I guess, a lot of production already invested with like 4 more gateways on the way. And it looks like he's going to be going into charge. So I'm not going to call it as a gateway-based style yet, because we have seen Charge and even Dark Shrine come out before Disruptors, but still, very shortly after. Okay, there we go. Robotics Bay goes down, but I was questioning, and well, my question was answered. He is also going to go into Disruptors, and with Disruptors, I mean, it's all fair game, really. Just who takes the better fight there, and then I guess if eventually we get to 4 and 5 bases, who has the better harassment?
Yeah, no, it's it's at least it's not going to be that sort of Hellraiser style, right? So it feels like we're going to get a bit more kind of what we expect almost from PvP. Those disruptor shots back and forth. Like you said, that late game harassment will be very fun to see. And, you know, Harstem is just a step ahead in every way in that right now. With the disruptor count already building. He's got that Dark Shrine already coming up. So I like where Harstem gets to as he takes the 4th base ahead of ShoWTimE as well.
Yeah, so ShoWTimE with the later one isn't really utilizing 71 workers as well as we might think. He's still faster to that upgrade. +3 is very quickly started after +2 finishes. It's not really going to matter nearly as much as those Hellraiser games where he was so far ahead. With Disruptor is actually being a core part of both of their compositions, but it does still definitely impact the game. And just Disruptors right now for ShoWTimE. No additional Dark Shrine, or I guess first Dark Shrine coming down, which means Harstem might get more harassment. He's actually already going to find a killed Nexus. ShoWTimE was out of position, didn't realize where the army of Harstem was going off to.
Yep, that's definitely ShoWTimE's problem at the moment, right? Harstem actually has quite a bit of map control. He has the Disruptors to help him out as well. And ShoWTimE is just that little bit behind on the tech. Finally getting his own Disruptors out, right? He's on 2 of them now, but yeah, loses that 4th base. Will go down the bottom left-hand side for a 4th base instead. So changing directions here. Does have the supply advantage, ShoWTimE. We'll see if that comes into anything as his own Dark Shrine starts. So again, it'll be a little while until ShoWTimE can maybe be as harassment-focused as Harstem may be with that Dark Shrine already done.
That could have been a lot scarier if the Disruptor was just a couple inches closer. Currently, the advantage for ShoWTimE is a lot in his Zealots. He's warped in even more Zealots, so 15 of them going to go across the map in another direction. Actually going to be scouted by, was that a DT? I think that might have been a DT, but the point is it was scouted, and maybe ShoWTimE's going to rethink his direction there. Actually, a lot of scouting units from Harstem right now, and they're not even observers. It's like stalkers around the map looking for surprise disruptors, looking for army movements. No one opened up with that Stargate, right? So we're going to have lacking revelation. And then actually keeping your observers alive is supposed to be a little bit difficult in PvP. So.
Yeah, no, it really is the ShoWTimE. At least here is kind of poised to defend. I mean, obviously, disruptors can fling at each other and... Oh, that one nearly connected. Nice step to the right from Harstem. I think it's just tough to really do anything right now, and this is why PvP draws out into these long games, because if you are the aggressor, you're at the disadvantage, because attacking into disruptors is way more difficult than using the disruptors defensively. Your own disruptors struggle to attack into a defensive position compared to someone defending. It's tough right now, and that's why we'll just have this kind of almost stalemate and kind of duel to see who maybe does find that disruptor shot first.
It's not terribly surprising to see Harstem as the first one to add on a Stargate, looking for that Fleet Beacon, and then more Stargates as time goes on. A lot of things can happen between now and him actually getting to a decent number of Tempest or Carriers, if that's what he chooses to go for, trying to surprise ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE is clearly sticking a little bit more onto the gateways, investing into the Dark Templar ability. Not many Dark Templars in this little harassment group, but a lot of Zealots and Immortal. I guess the Sentries that are no longer really going to be super helpful as you get more into Disruptors. Harstem actually moves out on the bottom left side a little aggressively. Disruptors were waiting, but I guess he's defending his top right base okay. He's got a lot of warp-ins himself. He's fine.
Yeah. Seems perfect at the moment, doesn't it? Just peaceful little game. ShoWTimE's going to set up his own Stargate and ready himself for this later game Stargate play. Yeah, I think what you said is right, not surprised to see Harstem going into it first. I feel like ShoWTimE is the one to try and maybe try everything he can until he has to tech up a bit more, and then Harstem's just kind of be like, yeah, I just like teching up. ShoWTimE gets a good shot here, and he actually has the Stalkers around the right side to intercept, and if Harstem's not paying attention, that's a dead Disruptor too. Good catch, and now he blinks through, and ShoWTimE is going to really catch Harstem in an awkward spot. The Zealot flank is amazing as well, and Harstem loses all of the tech. ShoWTimE has TTs also. Wow. Zombie group. ShoWTimE just demolished him.
That was a very good fight. ShoWTimE using that was supposed to be harassment force that Harstem was totally prepared for to actually come around and get a surround on Harstem's army, which really means that the Blink Stalkers can't do what they want to do, use their projectiles on those Zealots, and they can't blink away even that effectively as they were totally surrounded, truly and entirely. Harstem is not going to die because of that, thankfully for him, but he does take a pretty fatal blow there to his bank, to his maybe his economy. Like, I think getting this 5th base could be difficult to do. He is trying to get his own harassment on the field, though, so he can get ShoWTimE's main army to back away, but ShoWTimE is the one with a gigantic bank. He can, build up his own harassment force defensively or offensively, as well as continue moving in here and teching as well. He's getting his fleet beacon, Stargates, upgrades are on the way. Harstem very quickly getting to a mothership might complicate matters as far as ShoWTimE's harassment goes, right? You try and move into a Nexus and suddenly it's just a bunch of cloaked buildings, but ShoWTimE certainly has the command of this game right now, and then also has command of what looks to be the late game. He's going to get there sooner to Tempest if he so desires. Top right looks like it is going to be defended, just so much crazy PvP, Zealots on Zealots, DTs on DTs, but Harstem needs to add on more than just that mothership, man. Like, ShoWTimE, as soon as he gets rid of some supply, could easily be starting up three carriers or Tempest.
Yeah, he's just got money, and that's the issue, right? Just Harstem. Well, what's he going to do? He's got to work his way through that entire bank. I mean, ShoWTimE's previous fight was just so good that Harstem basically needs something comparable to get back, because it's not like Harstem was on a huge eco lead. In fact, it's been ShoWTimE ahead on eco this entire time. So you've got to find a way to get back, and that's probably going to come down to some disruptor shots, because generally those are how you find engagements as efficient as what ShoWTimE just had, even though ShoWTimE wasn't even really relying on the disruptors on his way around. That's a disruptor showdown, and Harstem wins it. As the next step for ShoWTimE is just to keep on multi-pronging, right? Just go a couple of different ways, try and catch Harstem off guard, and maybe even try and fight, find a fight similar to before, or just kill all the disruptors. That works too.
Only one disruptor alive. A second one, I guess, reinforcing somewhere, but very low number. There it is. Yeah. So ShoWTimE's not quite cracking the defense of Harstem. It was a really 2 fantastic fights so far, right? One with the main army, just like all of the army, and second one with the disruptors. But it's not quite forcing Harstem to break yet. Takes kind of an odd engagement down the ramp. DT is actually being very complicated. Taking out the disruptor. Surprisingly obnoxious, even when you can see them. ShoWTimE's the first one to actually move into Tempest here, but it's a very, very slow process. He is choosing to reinforce a lot with the Zealots. That mothership is moving awfully suspiciously, Wardy. Is he really going to do this in his position?
Yeah, you recall in, kill a base, maybe recall out. The Stalkers figure it out, though. So the Stalkers get here, and now... Does it go down? Is it going to get to the main base? One more volley of Stalker shots. It's solo. The Tempest is here. It was a good idea for Harstem. I like, doing something a bit out there is maybe the right way to get into an advantage again, but yeah, obviously got found by ShoWTimE, so ShoWTimE just shuts it down, and then, well, then you've wasted a mothership.
Yeah, I just love it was the one Tempest he made, It's like that was its sole job. Yeah, motherships, they can't really stand up to a lot of Stalkers, can they? And that was like not even a lot of Stalkers. Well, he's very eager to rebuild it. Still wants that to be part of his army, I suppose, or part of his tactics, which, I mean, means he's not really gone into further Stargates. He's got 2 Stargates, and he's not really eager to use them. And that could be a problem, because he's already kind of losing out on the harassment battles or even the main battles, right? So ShoWTime's starting to take the map a little bit better. And then you got on Tempest as well. It's really pushing into Harstem's defense. It could get crazy. But Harstem actually just going right up the middle, totally unseen by ShoWTime. Finds a bit of an opening. Disruptor count isn't super convincing at 4. He's already thrown 3 of his shots, I believe. And ShoWTime also will eventually pick them off with his Tempest need be. It's going to become a little bit of a sandwich. DT's warped in, blinking on top of the Stalkers, forcing Harstem to retreat up that ramp. It looks like a portion of his army will get away, but that was a big loss.
Yeah, that was so much loss. It's again just that fact that ShoWTime has got armies elsewhere, and he's able to bring them back to respond. And again, after all said and done, Tuesday player, he's able to rebuild more easily. It's still ShoWTime, right? He still had that larger bank from earlier, and again, with the Tempest count rising, it's going to become harder and harder for Harstem to, well, again, take a fight that can then drain that bank of ShoWTime and put him into a position on the rebuild. Because now this is going to be interesting, because again, Harstem's on the top side while ShoWTime's down on the bottom. And who gives it up first? Looks like Harstem is backing away, and ShoWTime gets to continue forward.
It feels like Harstem is kind of the one that has to play that mobile style, has to really, I guess, look inwards to his inner Hellraiser, but is struggling to find the same success. ShoWTime is getting more surprising moves, right? When Harstem moved to the middle and kind of surprised ShoWTime, well, it actually turned on him as ShoWTime got a big surround. That seems to happen, more often than not. So Harstem's aren't really getting any wiggle room to take other bases. This one going to be canceled by just a handful of units, it looks like. And the biggest problem for Harstem right now is that his gas bank is abysmal. It's really not there. So even seeing him invest into his upgrades right now, I do wonder if that is the correct call. That's so much away from further disruptors or his own changeover into Tempest, which, by the way, ShoWTimE's going to be up to 7 Tempests. It's going to take a while for Harstem to rebuild that, build up to that count.
Yeah, I feel like Harstem almost just has to fight without them, but then can you? I mean, it just means that ShoWTimE gets to get a lot of like picking damage, right? He just sits back here, gets a few shots off for free, whereas Harstem basically has to really fully commit into every fight he wants to take. So disruptor shots fired, trading out, nothing hit there. He is going to get a disruptor now, Harstem. So he'll make another pick. I mean, but then ShoWTimE responds like that, right? And again, it's these Tempests that dealing damage all the way throughout this as well. And ShoWTimE is really winning now. He's going to get down on toward that bottom base. He'll give up the position, though. He doesn't want to... I'm surprised he gives it up so easily. Like, he has the disruptors, right? To kind of keep zoning Harstem out.
Yeah, I guess he might not... He doesn't know where the other army is, I think. And that's the one thing that would be scary is the other army coming in from the north or the west right now and getting us around. So kind of respecting that. In fact, what's funny is that they're going to find each other's other armies. So Zealots on top of Stalkers. Disruptor trying to get a good hit. Still too awkward of a fight for both of them. They both disengage. And Harstem looks like he's going to keep that bottom left base alive. His mothership's going to help, I guess, to some degree. But I'm looking at the Tempest count, and I'm like, that mothership can't possibly live for that long. Harstem really needs to find a weak point of ShoWTimE and get him off his back. But he so far has been unsuccessful in it.
Another couple of disruptor shots. Nothing will land here just yet. We're really building up to one. Just kind of, there's going to be a moment where something happens in one of these fights that just causes both of them to commit, right? You know, whether that be a disruptor shot forcing Stalkers forward, or maybe Harstem's just had enough. And when it happens, it's going to be all hell breaks loose, because that's what disruptors can do. They can just pick off a lot of units all at once. So, you know, if Harstem can landslide a fight in his favor, there is a possibility that he can get back into this and really, again, like, he's maxed out, right? So it's not impossible for him to heavily win a fight. It's just those Tempests definitely make it difficult to kind of pick a really good one, because the Tempest gets so much done. And now on the top right, we're fighting once again as well, by the way. As, well, this is actually just getting a little bit ridiculous. There's armies everywhere at the moment, but it looks like Harstem's holding on.
Yeah, Harstem, I guess he was waiting for a sack defense in the upper right to actually finalize, which helped him defend this attack. And then he finally found a weaker point of ShoWTimE's defenses. It was kind of awkward, because it was, yes, an undefended third, or I think that was his third, yeah. But the army was so close. But then the army was kind of like, do I actually fully return there, or do I wait for the mothership army of Harstem to appear? Lots of tough decisions, because no one really has that full information. No one's going to have revelation on their opponents. Maybe they could force at least one, but then it'd be instantly denied by Blink or Tempest. So it's still a lot about information and trying to catch one large army off guard with a larger army, I guess, amongst the smaller one. And just, I mean, PvP can be really fun, but also just really confusing. It's like one army is 20 Zealots and 10 DTs, and the other army is Stalkers and Tempest, apparently. And it's like, who uses either army better? Who uses them where as well? Like right now, Harstem is finally cleaning up the top right, or at least trying to. It was a little late to the party, but gosh, I guess Harstem has kind of stabilized, right? Like, he's got an okay gas bank, but still not enough to try and combat the Tempests. And we still are kind of looking at ShoWTimE's army as the better army. It would require Harstem to get a full surround, which he has not been able to get yet, and I guess hasn't really been trying to either. As ShoWTimE pushes in further into Harstem's bottom right again. ShoWTimE,
yeah, but
Harstem is going to move down. There it is, yeah. Okay. I was like, he's going to go to the left again. No, he is going to go for this round, and ShoWTimE sees it, immediately recalls. Nicely done.
Yep. I mean, you do not want that surrounded fight, because then your disruptors are way less effective. Everything else becomes a problem. He recalls to the bottom left corner, so he's going to be able to come in and re-engage this from one angle. And that's everything that ShoWTimE wants, of course. He slowly just pushes this back. Stalkers continue to back away here from Harstem. And I mean, right now, actually, just ShoWTimE chasing and getting a lot of kills. Of course, right now, it's the first time I feel in a long time we've had both players have the entirety of their armies all in one place. So maybe for the first time in a while, ShoWTimE feeling good to kind of come in and continue to chase stuff down. But of course, as Harstem splits into two forces, it gets back into this case of, oh, I'm a little bit scared of you surrounding me. And that's why ShoWTimE goes back down to this bottom corner.
Yep, making sure to mitigate the danger of his surrounds. I mean, he has so many disruptors and so many tempests that it wouldn't be the worst fight ever for him, but it definitely wouldn't be ideal. And Harstem is just gonna have to give up this bottom left base. It took much longer than I think we both expected with how much ShoWTimE was pushing into it, but it finally goes down. Oh, an aggressive blink forward on top of the disruptors. There are so many. I mean, he kind of splits as well, tries to target down what he can, and it could have gone a lot worse. In fact, another good split towards the end there. Harstem's other army is trying to come up from behind, but it's actually getting stuck on all of the static defense. It can't really support this army battle against the Tempest. I think the Tempest will eventually win it. The stock numbers are just awfully low, but Harstem, he could replace a little bit of this. I mean, was that... it was something, right? But it's not really going to beat ShoWTimE's army in the long run.
No, I just don't think it was good enough anyway, right? Like, he gave up so much, and he just never had the bank to rebuild, where ShoWTimE really does. So the only real hope for Harstem is he masters Stalkers, and ShoWTimE tries to build up like a lot of tech, and so he gets caught like producing while Harstem's reinforcements are instantaneous. Obviously, doesn't happen. ShoWTimE picks up that first game. Some long PvPs here, Zombie Grub, and this really was one where I think again ShoWTimE was kind of ahead and stable early, but then Harstem had that hold, right? And he holds on, and this game gets to a point where suddenly neither of them have the advantage to attack with, so they kind of clash for a while, and yeah, in the end, ShoWTimE definitely controlled it throughout, but Harstem got it to a position where he gave himself some hope at times.
Yes, there's always hope when it comes to, I mean, not even just disruptors, right? But all those potential surrounds. Like, what if that base wasn't set up with static defense towards that last fight? Could he have brought in the other half of his army faster and gotten like a really good surround? And then maybe carried the momentum a little bit to kill like one or two bases, and he's expanding to the top right. Meanwhile, I mean, that game could have gone on, but he was down to the worst of the two scenarios, right? Either you hold strong with Tempest and Disruptors and say, eventually I'll take a good fight, which is what ShoWTimE was doing with the superior economy, or you have to play like Harstem did, which is like, well, God, I hope he's out of position. And if you're hoping for your opponent to make a mistake, that's not usually a very comfortable place to play StarCraft. So, and that was just, I mean, that's what happened after so many kind of bad fights for Harstem, right? There was a bit of that play in the mid game around like, can I find you out of position? Can I do the 30 supply one place, 50 supply another, and catch you? And every time it looked like it was about to go well for Harstem, was like, oh, Harstem found an opening. ShoWTimE was like, actually, no, it's my opening. I'm going to take this fight. So I guess overall, really, ShoWTimE playing the better PvP, not to like an insane degree, but definitely the better PvP. And for the last 5 minutes of that game, obviously he was in the much better position.
Yeah, no, he really was, right? He was just... I love the moment where it's like Harstem finally gets that big surround, and ShoWTime's just like, no, I see it coming. I recall away. Because those are the moments that Harstem can turn the game around, and ShoWTimE still has it just so under control. It's such a calm, quick response. Works out perfect. We're going to jump into Death Order for game number 2 as our PvP bonanza continues. Great way to start up the day. Jumping into Death Order.
Oh. All right, I want to see something similar. I mean, that did start off actually with a proxy from Harstem, which certainly made his start of the game a little bit awkward. We'll see what happens here. In the top left is the red Protoss for Team BIG. He is ShoWTimE.
And the bottom right-hand side from Team Liquid, our blue Protoss player is Harstem.
Harstem, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh.
No.
Okay, well, all right. Let's see if...
I remember last time Harstem did a cannon rush and I was casting them, and it went... To say it went awfully would be an understatement. It was against mana, and...
Yep.
Yep, I think I might have even been casting with...
Yeah, I think it was both of us.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up pre-show, but I was like, it doesn't matter. He's not going to do that again. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this pre-show too. Every time Harstem tries a cannon rush, it doesn't really feel like it works that well. So let's see what he's got this time.
Well, I mean, it's already going better than that very awkward game, or even he like immediately noticed where he made the mistake. Mm-hmm. So he gets the lock-in on the low ground, right? If you know they're going to cannon rush, and trying to stop that from happening is one of those first defenses, but I mean, he couldn't positively know, so it's a little late to that response. Cannons will get up on that low ground, but ShoWTimE going for the, I guess, what is just basically the most popular defense nowadays, into his own cannons, and trying to get those set up so that at the very least he stops the encroachment, right? Like his wall may eventually be broken, but that is stuff that he could replace as long as he doesn't start losing like his Nexus or his probes. And in fact, ShoWTimE sending his probe across the map, I guess he is just going to do some scouting. I was wondering if he has anything more nefarious, but can't really afford to do much except defend right now.
Well, he has 2 probes on the map, right? It's,
You were right about that.
yeah, that's what I was wondering about too, because he almost went down to like a proxy Stargate kind of position, and then, yeah, now it's pulling back. So ShoWTimE kind of gives up the front. He only builds 1 cannon. So that's kind of okay, because that cannon protects his mineral line, and then the only thing I am a bit worried about is what if Harstem just kind of builds cannons on this bottom side, right? Like where the gateway is now? Then that cannon up there from ShoWTimE doesn't really protect the Nexus or anything, and so that's maybe where you can do a little bit more. Obviously, Harstem is going into the Cyberclaw right now. He's got the gateway on this low ground. I imagine he's going to try and build up. He's going to go to the left side, and now ShoWTimE doesn't have a forge to work with.
He doesn't have any units either. That Stalker wasn't able to pop out, and this might have been too late of a response. I mean, probes around are going to be very effective, so Harstem doesn't even look like he's really going to try and commit to this, but I do think it is one of the more awkward defenses we've seen, right? Like, apparently, as far as stopping the encroachment, that was successful, but as far as seamlessly going into the next phase and getting your production up, that's more awkward. And that's important because Harstem is not stopping with a cannon rush and just, like, building a Nexus. No, he's fully walled off, and he is going to be building that proxy Stargate. And I dare say one of the more common responses, one of the more powerful responses to this is your own Stargate. But ShoWTimE actually going for additional gateways, I don't know, man. Well, like, it has worked, but what do you think about this one? Is this actually going to be possible for ShoWTimE to defend here?
I don't like it. Every time I see someone go Void Rays on that low ground, it kind of feels like you need Void Rays of your own, right? Because it's just a ticking time bomb. It's not like you're fine. No, you're on 1 base, but you're just going to literally mass Stalkers against Voids. I mean, he's literally massing Voids against you, He's going to have batteries on the low ground. Yeah, I feel like this is definitely way more difficult for ShoWTimE to play out of than it is for Harstem to close out. So, yeah, I really like it for Harstem here. He's doing the right things, and yeah, ShoWTimE's first defense was just kind of odd. I guess we'll see. The only thing is ShoWTimE didn't waste a lot of money elsewhere, so maybe he can just get enough Stalkers up because of that. Maybe that's the play.
I've seen people get close, I guess. I actually don't think he even won it, and I forget who I'm thinking of. But, the mass Stalker defense, like, it's gotten pretty close, because once you get to a one-shot potential of the Void Ray, like, the shield batteries obviously matter a little bit less, as long as they're all shooting together. And you can do that. You can get up to that many Stalkers, building your own shield batteries, producing your own, right? And it's already, I think, better than many other starts to this defense.
Yeah, I mean, he kills these 2 cannons in a pylon. I mean, honestly, the Stalker count so far is impressive. It must be something to do with the way that he's just gone, like, very quickly into the gateways behind this.
Oh my god.
This looks way better than it usually does. Now Harstem's building Void Ray Immortal. This is
he was supply blocked. Like, I mean, I dare say that Immortal is going to be really important in the defense with the way the Stalker numbers are growing. I do agree with you. I think just maybe that ShoWTimE did anticipate this. Those gateways weren't a emergency. They were actually very intentional, and apparently it is very much so working. I mean, the other reason I didn't really want Harstem to do this was because it feels like ShoWTimE would be the type of guy who lost against Max Packs and immediately, hit up, another Protoss player and was like, do this to me, and, like, let me try and figure this out. And seems like a strong response so far, but Void Ray Immortal, I guess it's one of those things that does kind of suddenly turn into, insane damage. So we'll see if Harstem can get to that point. Apparently not.
Kills off a Void Ray, and he's going to keep chasing for the Immortal as well. The problem is, once you start losing units here, you're going to lose all the units here, right? It falls apart so quickly. There's a sentry that just popped out. Don't think that's going to help. He's going for the pylon, the Immortal. Doesn't matter if the Immortal gets out or not, right?
Oh
just
my
been
god.
an extra slap in the face if it hadn't, but even as it does,